This is KGW News at Sunrise.
Coming up on Sunrise, public testimony on Oregon's proposed gun legislation.
The more tools we have to combat gun violence, the more lives we can save.
Unfortunately, at the passing, if this was to pass, it would make me a criminal.
This morning, we'll hear more from both supporters and critics of 3 new bills some lawmakers say will reduce gun violence.
Also this morning, you've been sharing memories, photos, and kind words about world-famous drag queen Darcel following the sad news of her death yesterday. Boy, was she a force, dominating the scene for more than 50 years. A look at some of your messages and highlighting her career. That's coming up at 5:25.
What a way to wake up this morning.
That'll wake you up.
Yeah, we know that sound, right? We hear it all the time from big rigs going downhill on the freeway. Well, it's known, I didn't know this, it's known as Jake braking.
Jake braking?
Had you heard that term before, Brenda and Christine?
I had not. No.
Chris McGinnis knows the term. In fact, Jake braking is the topic of his latest Driving Me Crazy segment. We have that coming up at 5:15.
Yeah, Chris McGinnis explaining all of that for us. And also on this Friday morning, thanks for being here, by the way, lots of stuff talking about what to talk about weather-wise.
Talk about snowflakes?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
Luckily,
Behind you
they're
there.
not sticking on the ground in Portland. I'm happy to tell you that that's not going to happen today. But as we look at radar right now, yes, there is green on the map and blue on the map as well. We have had some snowflakes mixed in with the raindrops here in downtown. As I go out a little wider here over the last 3 hours, snow falling heavily in the Coast Range, snow falling heavily in the Cascade foothills and the Cascades, and occasionally in elevations below 1,000 feet, we're seeing some snow in the air, but the temperatures are just too warm right now to have any major problems on the roads. It's 36 in Hillsborough, it's 38 in downtown Portland, it's 35 right now in Salem and Kaiser. Last check at PDX, 39, the breeze out of the south, and the plan for today, it's actually dry. We're in between showers right now at the airport, but the showers will be numerous today. The temperatures warm up, and you know what, guys? Just to add a little intrigue to the afternoon, how about a rumble of thunder and some hail? It's all in my Friday forecast with highs in the upper 40s. We'll do it again tomorrow as well. Your 7-day comes up in just a few minutes.
So much going on. Okay, thank you, Chris. And this morning, Southeast Foster from 70th to 72nd is closed as Portland police investigate a deadly shooting. It happened just after 11:30 last night. Red's Bar and Grill parking lot is where it happened. Police tell us one person was killed. So far, no word on any arrests or a suspect, but we'll keep you updated as we learn more.
Also this morning, we're hearing from supporters and critics of a new gun package introduced in Salem. Earlier this week, we told you about 3 gun bills that include regulating ghost guns and raising the minimum age to have most firearms.
So this is all coming as Measure 114, a gun control law that voters narrowly pushed through last November, is still working its way through the courts. Alma McCarty has the story.
Poised to become one, 3 bills in Salem present 3 plans to change Oregon's gun laws. The first deals with ghost guns, untraceable and undetectable firearms, punishing those who make, sell, or possess them.
They have emerged as a weapon of choice for violent criminals, gun traffickers, extremists, and generally people legally prohibited from buying firearms.
Leaders like Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum and Multnomah County DA Mike Schmidt agreed, giving recent examples of what they called a growing, dangerous problem.
Last March of 2022, a Salem man was indicted in what's considered our state's largest known ghost gun operation thus far. Police seized dozens of ghost guns and their components from this man's house, along with approximately 200 counterfeit OxyContin pills believed to be laced with fentanyl.
Last year, my office successfully prosecuted a murder case involving a woman named Crampton Brophy. Brophy purchased a ghost gun online, attempting to conceal the murder of her husband.
The second bill would raise the minimum age to possess firearms from 18 to 21, with a few exceptions.
It would recognize that 18-year-olds to 21-year-olds should still have access to hunting and to trap shooting and to other types of events, but that ultimately we have a problem.
And the third bill allows cities and counties to restrict concealed carry in public buildings.
This puts power in the hands of community leaders across the state to choose which policy makes the most sense for their constituents.
During committee hearings on Wednesday, there was strong support.
The more tools we have to combat gun violence, the more lives we can save.
And equally as fierce opposition.
As these bills sit, I can't be a supporter of them.
Bill 2006 and other bills before you will do very little to reduce gun violence in our state. Why? Because we do not have a gun violence problem. We have a mental health problem.
Our country's independence was arguably won with so-called ghost guns.
One of my hobbies is building firearms. Unfortunately, if this was to pass, it would make me a criminal.
Alma McCarty, KGW News.
All right, let's get to one of our other top stories this morning. The family of Miche Melendez and Layla Stewart is holding a vigil this weekend, one they hope brings more awareness to the issue of domestic violence. 2 bodies were found near Washougal on Wednesday. We're still waiting for the medical examiner's confirmation, but Vancouver police have already said they believe they're the bodies of Miche and Layla. The mother and her 8-year-old daughter went missing about 2 weeks ago. Miche's boyfriend, meanwhile, Kirkland Warren, is a person of interest in this case. That vigil will be held on Sunday at 11 a.m. at Esther Short Park in Vancouver. Domestic violence advocates want victims to know they do have resources available to them. Elizabeth Montoya with the Washington State Coalition Against Domestic Violence, is providing access, and she says it's really about saving lives.
So it can be so important for survivors to have access to support for safety planning, to understand like the risks and limitations of no contact orders, to understand how electronic monitoring works, to know where they can go for help, all of those kinds of things.
If you know someone who's experiencing domestic violence, you can call or text the National Domestic Violence Hotline. We have that number right there on your screen. It's 800-799-7233.
Other headlines we're tracking for you. Today, Washington's Supreme Court is set to release a ruling on the state's capital gains tax. It's a 7% tax on individuals and couples who are selling stocks, bonds, and other high-end assets worth more than $250,000. It's supposed to raise $500 million a year for education. But critics argue a capital gains tax is a form of income tax, and the Washington Constitution prohibits that. A local power company is facing a class action lawsuit over Oregon's historic wildfires in 2020. Pacific Corp's trial is set to begin next month. The Statesman Journal reports plaintiffs allege the company didn't properly maintain or shut down power lines before a big wind event, helping ignite several massive wildfires. Those fires killed 4 people and burned 2,500 properties. Pacific Corp says the fires were an unavoidable natural disaster. And a quick heads up for drivers. It's time to remove your studded tires. The deadline for both Oregon and Washington is next Friday, March 31st. Oregon drivers caught with studs after that face an almost $200 fine. The ticket is $137 in Washington. And that's a look at some of your Friday morning headlines.
Looks like it might be ready to try to make a break for it.
My goodness, take a look at that. A giant Pacific octopus stranded on a Washington beach, actually saved by a little girl and a group of researchers. So this happened at Bayview State Park in Washington just last week. Researchers say the girl did exactly the right thing to help keep that octopus alive.
She was taking water with her little sand bucket and she was filling it up and she was pouring it on top of the octopus.
We also were told that you should not try to move or touch an octopus yourself. If you do see one out of the water, instead, call the wildlife experts. That brought a chuckle to you, Chris McGinnis.
Well, I actually...
You thinking about Patrick doing that?
Well, first off, Patrick, my nearly 6-year-old loves squids and octopi?
Octopuses.
Did I say it right?
Octopuses.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I will forever remember that. The other thing is, when I was about his age, in the beach aquarium up in Seaside, there was an octopus. And you could reach in and start poking it. It didn't like it very much. It went, what?
Yeah.
Octopus did. So, Don't touch the octopus.
I knew there was something behind that chuckle.
Yeah, that was what was behind the chuckle. All right, let me get to the
Yes.
the weather. We're all kind of wondering, are we going to see snow? Yeah, probably. We are probably going to see snowflakes in the air today. Will they stick on the valley floor? No, just too warm. It's just that simple, right? We go up in elevation 500 feet. Maybe there could be a brief dusting, short-lived. Again, too far above freezing to have any major problems. You got to go up to about 1,000 feet to have any significant snow accumulation today. And with that, above 1,000 feet, it is snowing hard. So in the Coast Range, Cascade foothills, Cascades are getting dumped on and will continue to today. Here's a look at radar over the last 3 hours. We are getting peppered with rain and snow showers. I wanted to show you the lightning as well. Check this out. Over the last 3 hours, we have had a couple lightning strikes in portions of Lincoln County here. So down towards Tillamook County, down towards south of Tillamook, obviously north of Tillamook. So why I'm showing you this is that the atmosphere is unstable. This low pressure is diving out of the Gulf of Alaska. The air aloft is very cold, especially by late March standards. So with that in mind, even though snow is not really a big threat on the valley floor today, hail, which could coat the ground later today, is a threat. So let's go ahead and walk you through that in a minute with Futurecast. Right now, 36 in Hillsborough, 39 at PDX, 39 in Astoria. Temperatures over across the Cascades in the upper teens. In Burns right now, it's 28 in Bend. As we mentioned, winter storm warnings continue for the Coast Range and the Cascades. It is dumping. Absolutely dumping in the Cascades right now. It will continue to do so all day today and through much of the day tomorrow, and Futurecast shows that. I did want to point out here, don't get too fixated on the time and place, but I just want to stop and give you a for instance. At 3 o'clock this afternoon, Futurecast puts this big orange blob right over downtown Portland. That would be one of those really heavy showers that could put down hail briefly on the ground later today. So a wild afternoon for sure, and a morning that starts with some snowflakes. Upper 40s eventually for highs today. Just because we don't have snow on the ground this morning does not mean it won't happen tomorrow morning, because it is still possible Saturday morning that we have a little dusting with lows in the 30s. We slowly climb out of it as we get into early next week. Do you hear that sound?
Yes, I do.
That is the sound of jake breaking. It is the topic of the next Driving Me Crazy coming up in a minute.